Hello, BSmart viewers. Welcome back to another engaging episode of Manager's Mantra, where we connect with industry leaders who are shaping the future of business management. Today, we have Aakash Yadav, a senior risk intelligence architect in Roblox with over 15 years of experience in security risk, governance, and cybersecurity at companies like OCAT, Meta. Akash specializes in translating complex risk into clear, actionable insights for engineering and leadership teams. So, without waiting further, let's jump right into this insightful discussion.
Hi Akash, a very good morning and a warm welcome to this new session of Managers Mantra. We are really glad to have you with us today, and I'm sure the viewers will just love this session.
I'm glad to be here, Abhishek. Thank you so much for having me.
Sure, Akash. So let's just start discussing the questions. Having been in the gaming industry in Roblox, you have seen the industry evolving.
Mhm.
How do you think India can become a global hub for game creators and not just consumers?
That's a really interesting question, Abhishek. And yeah, I've seen a lot of shift in how the gaming paradigm has evolved over the years in the United States, in India. But what the very interesting thing that I've noticed is you walk into a school, you walk into a metro, or you walk into uh, a small village. People have mobiles, kids have mobiles with them, and what are they all doing? They're playing a game. They're playing the most viral games. They are recording TikToks. But if you notice, they are not building those games. They are all games that have been built by industry or built by folks outside of India. So does that mean that we do not have the talent? I don't think so. We are one of the largest producers of engineers, if not the largest producers of engineers in the world, correct? So the talent is not the problem. The gap is the capital and the storytelling. That's what we need to focus on, and that's what is going to bring India up in the globe in terms of being the creator hub. And it's not that we don't have the technology. India has already started moving in that direction. There is an institute that's opened by the administration in Mumbai with a huge amount of backing. The whole aim of the institute is to build games, have creators come in, use cutting edge technology, and build games. Be be what Korea is, be what Japan is, be what United States is. Come up with games using technology so that we can compete. Just imagine us not being having capital, for example, right? So we need folks from the government and investors to be patient. A game which is a AAA grade game is not built in a couple of months. It takes years to come up to a level. So we need investors, we need the capital to to bring up the storytellers so that they can make those games, and those games are used worldwide. So that's where I think India needs to focus on, and we are on the right track. It's just another couple of years. Patience is what's going to bring us up in the world.
Thank you, Akash. That was, really a very precise answer to the question. Akash, with the emergence of AI in everyday life, there are several kind of risks associated with it. Now, what are the everyday AI risks that, an average Indian internet user should be concerned about? We are seeing deep fakes of celebrities, including actors, sports personals, CEOs. How serious do you think it is? And, what is the kind of preparation do you think India is having for it? How can young leaders joining different cybersecurity companies deal with it? How do you explain that?
Again, an amazing question and pretty spot on with respect to how the world is moving towards AI. But I would put it in a way that's more global. So because AI and the risks that come with it are not just very unique to India. Yes, there are certain risks that are unique to India, but overarching, if you look at it, it's not just India. It's the whole world is trying to deal with it. It's like you're learning to run and walk at the same time. That's what's happening with AI because of the emergence of the technology. The adoption is at such high rate that it's a problem. So when you're speaking about the one risk that I'm really concerned about, yes, it's deep fakes, But I'm not concerned about the deep fakes where it's the celebrities being deep faked. Of course, from an individual perspective, that it's a concern. But if you look at the larger population of India, where we sit in the middle class, where we are the bread earners, the risk is the ease by which an evidence can be created. Evidence has always been the most expensive piece when it comes to fraud. If you want to mimic someone's face, you need a makeup artist who's really good at mimicking faces. If you want to clone someone's voice, you need a voice artist with a studio. If you want to clone numbers, you need to somehow figure out a way to clone the get the numbers out. With AI, the cost of evidence has absolutely gone to zero, and the speed at which you can do all of this is absolutely mind-boggling. If we look at it, I work in cybersecurity, and that's one of the things that's really concerning. Imagine you put a voice note or you put a status on WhatsApp, which everybody uses. Someone with your phone number looks at your status, uses a secondary phone to record your voice, uses AI to modulate in a way that it gives a call to your mother at 10 a.m. and the voice is crying and it's asking for money because you've gotten into an accident. It's not you, it's the deep fake which is doing it. That's the real concerns. That's what is going to be a big problem when it comes to the overarching use of AI, not in the right sense. So that's the conversation that everybody needs to have in their families. When you're sitting at a dining table having food with your family, this is what everyone needs to be talking about so that we are bringing awareness that you do not just trust everything to a source. Indians are trusting people. But when it comes to deep fakes and the capabilities they have, we need to start rethinking about the trust we put on the first call that we get, which says, I'm your son calling and I need help. So that's one of the biggest problems that I feel we should all be concerned about.
Akash, taking shortcuts is very common. I mean, it's been common for ages. I mean, to reach the desired destination, when we see something very lucrative waiting for us, we often tend to take shortcuts. It's human nature. Now, generative AI is a buzzword today, and Indian enterprises are racing to adopt generative AI, and
Mhm.
they are trying to take shortcuts. Now, what's that one shortcut that can kind of hurt them?
And honestly, it's not just small companies, it's every company now doing it. You want to jump on the AI bandwagon because you don't want to be left behind. Imagine if your CEO reads a McKinsey report and tomorrow comes in and says, "Hey, I let's get onto the AI strategy." Tomorrow, someone picks up that statement from the CEO, decides to build an app, builds the app, shows it to the CEO and the board, and everyone is excited. Look, we are on the bandwagon. That's the quick movement, right? Because we want to be there. We want to be the next company that's AI first. Let's look at the forward, like 6 months in the future. What's happening? You realize that, wait a second, the chatbot that was built in 1 month because AI makes it possible now not only has access to what it should have access to, but it also has access to things that it's not supposed to have access to. Now, people interfacing with the chatbot can get any information in your organization. So where was the problem? The problem was the planning. Initially we did not plan to what data we have, and it's a big problem. It's not easy to find what data your company has. You will have trillions and trillions of data points. You need to identify that data. I know it's boring, it sounds boring, we want to build stuff and move fast, but if we do not do the groundwork where we protect data that we have in the organization, not to know what data exists, and create policies that govern what an agent can have access to. And when I say agent, I mean AI agent. What an AI agent can have access to, it's a problem. And the problem is not that AI just has access to the data. The problem is that AI is not just a data ingester, it's a data multiplier. Imagine a finance person who is looking at the data. Now not only is are they putting it in chat gpt, but chat gpt is using that data to produce more information that's being pushed in your company information, and then this cycle keeps repeating. So imagine you not getting a tracker of what data you have access to and what multiplier there is because of the way AI generates stuff. And AI does not think. AI is not a thinker, it's a prediction. LLM are not do not think, they predict. They're amazing at predicting what the next probabilistic word is. So that's where the problem is, and that's what we need to make sure we do not skip the basics. And this is not only gonna help us protect AI, but this fixing the basic is going to create more jobs. People, yes, people need to build, but people also need to know what exists. And it's not AI that's going to know what exists, it's humans who are going to know what exists. So that's where also a new era of engineers are going to develop, where they are the data custodians. They build governance. They build what an agent can do. And then there are people who are going to be able to build on top of this governance structure, where you're protecting yourself, you're building amazing new products with AI, and your company is growing at 10 times the rate.
Akash, let's just talk about the new age companies today. Gone are those days when you would probably wait, get matured, and then think about scaling up, diversifying, expansion to different markets. Gone are those days. I mean, we are seeing new age companies today. They're very quick adopting to technology, wanting to flourish very, very soon. They now that also is associated with a lot of challenges they face, in terms of rivalry with the settled companies, in terms of the different cost pressure. Now, talking about cost pressure, what do you think is the biggest cost pressures for this new age companies in terms of talent, infrastructure, or is it going to the market? And how can young leaders, kind of handle this kind of challenges?
Yeah, I think it's not an or question, honestly, Abhishek. It's more of an and question. Every organization, be it however fast you want to go, is going to have to face these three challenges. They're going to face challenges about people. They're going to face challenges about the infrastructure that they're operating in. They're going to face challenges about getting customer bases, right? Or building the customer bases, go to the market strategy, right? So it's not something that the companies can just ignore. AI makes you move faster, but these problems still will exist. So for example, from a people's perspective, what are the biggest challenges for a Series A company? It's getting the right talent, right? It's the same pool of talent that large companies who have been existing for decades are also challenging for. And you can see this live, right? Oh, like Meta in the United States is paying $100 million to bring AI researchers on board. Why do you think is that? Because there's such a big challenge. So it's always going to be the challenge. So what do the AI companies need, or what do the Series A companies or the young companies need to do? They need to look for the hunger, not necessarily only the qualifications. They need to know how curious an engineer is, or a young Indian youth is. Bring them on board, train them, create the training culture, and make them senior engineers in a year and a half or two. That's what's going to help the startups. That's what's going to help them grow. Infrastructure is the second example. It's the problem is not going to go. The problem is going to come down. Token sizes. I'm going to talk token sizes because like infrastructure for AI is tokens. The cost of tokens has reduced almost 80 to 90% in the last 2 years. What took $100 before is probably going to take a couple of cents soon, right? So the infrastructure is like going quicker, but what needs to be understand is people need to manage that infrastructure. We need to be able to appropriately use that infrastructure and make sure that we understand what we are doing with what we are doing. So that's the other problem that the founders need to really think carefully about, is like what's the right infrastructure right at the beginning rather than having to fix the problems while we are moving forward. You're targeting pace, but do not target pace for not making the right decisions. And go to market is always the most, in my mind, and when I was studying my MBA, in my mind the biggest challenge was go to market strategy. That's always going to be a problem. You need to hire strong people, and you need to keep a good track of how much you're spending, how much you're going to be making money, and how long that money is going to be going to take for the money to come back to you. Keeping a very thorough understanding of the money you're spending and the money you're making and how long it's taking you to make that money will help you strategize to ensure that your company survives. Most of the startups die at this stage where startup founders want to move quick, they want to make risky decisions, but they're not understanding the stretch between when they're going to be making the money and what they need now. And that's where it's the biggest problem. So that's constantly keeping an eye out and not overstretching yourself is what's going to help, especially in the AI business, to keep you above the water and not drown in it.
Thank you, Akash. That was really very insightful. Let us, talk about leadership. Let us talk about leading teams now. You're a young MBA, and you just stepped out of your college, and then you joined a company. Some years down the lane, you are given this responsibility of leading a big team. So it's not just that you are leading a team of just one vertical. There will be several verticals in a company. You'll have to lead multidisciplinary teams, engineers, designers, operations, marketing. I mean anything, all the verticals, and then also you need to keep them aligned to a common goal. So
Mhm.
how do you suggest young leaders to do that? How can they do that, keeping everyone aligned, seeing that everybody is valued inside the company, they feel the sense of belongingness in the company. How can you do that?
Not an easy problem to solve because humans are involved. And whenever humans are involved, it's a big challenge. But I always feel that the word alignment is used very loosely in the management field, is where we want to bring everyone in alignment with a goal. It's important, but how often do you need to do it? You bring everyone in alignment that, okay, our goal is to reach A, and you stop. That's a one-time activity. What needs to happen next is providing the people who are going to help you get to a particular goal the ability to do it, the comfort to do it, and the strength to do it. And how do you do that? Reduce the number of meetings you have. Just imagine, right? So you have a team, you mentioned multi-field individuals, wanted to bring them in alignment. You have an engineer, you have a marketeer, and you have a people's person in a meeting room. They're all talking different languages. They are not in alignment. They have their own way of thinking, correct? What's going to happen? You're feeling comfortable. It gives you a strong sense of comfort because you're talking in a more broader context. You're not talking on specifics. So reduce the meetings and get into writing. We need to make sure that we start using the expertise that we have in the team in the right space. You make people write. You make people who, as an engineer, write architecture. You need to make people who are in marketing put together marketing strategy that aligns with the company goals. People in the people's team, they need to come in alignment to make sure that our individuals who are working towards the common goal have their needs met. We are hiring the right people. We are bringing the right talent in. So it's like an ever-changing game that you keep moving to ensure that everyone feels comfortable to make that risky decision, to come up to the manager and open up and talk about a problem. Like make it comfortable for individuals to come in and raise concerns. I've so many times felt that new managers, and I was in this trap too when I started working with people, is I was not very open to being hearing criticism or very open to hearing about situations that other feel are not comfortable. That's where people fail. That's where we need to be open. We need to make it a comforting situation where anyone can come to you and ask you a question or question what the decision that you have made. It's not an ego problem. It's about us trying to get to a singular goal. And that's what in my head is alignment, where everyone can come and make sure that each one of us is in alignment with how we are reaching that goal, rather than one person driving the decision while the other people just blindly follow it without bringing in their expertise, which is the reason why we hired them. We hired them to bring in their expertise. Otherwise, we could have hired just like generalists and expected them to make development.
Thank you so much, Akash. Thanks. Akash, we are seeing new emerging trends. We have seen AI, it's still emerging with, new developments coming up every day. Metaverse is there. So, what are the top opportunities for MBAs in the tech field, I would say, and in the new digital economy?
Abhishek, you really pointed out really well. Like when I was doing my MBA, we were only like finance individuals. We were only marketing individuals. We were the HR people, and then we were IT and systems. With the way AI is moving and with the different industries that are evolving post pandemic, the opportunities have gone so much larger for people who are doing MBA because people always feel that, okay, MBA is losing its value. I don't feel that's the case. MBA is shifting its value. MBA is not a traditional field where people think of MBA as the ticket to opening a door. It's a keychain, it's a tool chain that you need to use to explore, be open to other new fields. Previously, like in the past, when I like when MBAs you used to think about MBAs, there were people who were doing investment banking, there were consultants. But now, if you look at the size of IIMs and the people where they are joining tech. So tech is not an isolated IT systems MBA anymore. It's the need of the hour, and everybody, even the top consulting firms, even the top investment banks, they all need people who understand technology, who understand AI, who understand the frontiers of how they're going to be able to use this technology to make things happen. Exploring new spaces, like space tech is such a big thing in India now. Space tech is a big environment where people need to go. We have farm tech, we have health tech. So all of these were individual non-tech fields which have started becoming tech fields. And there is a reason for it. You can't operate without technology now. And that's where an MBA comes in because they bring in the business acumen with people opening up to understanding how technology works. They bring in the technology acumen, they connect the whole jigsaw puzzle together and make a difference. People who are joining these firms, even it be a bigger firm or smaller firm, AI product managers who were previously just product managers are making far more because they understand technology and they bring in the business acumen. So they basically are bridging the whole gap. So that's, I think, MBAs are going to be in a really good spot where they're going to be able to bring that value of business thinking, which sometimes is missing when you have a pure engineer coming in who is just trying to solve one problem.
Uh, Akash, staying relevance is very important. We have
Mhm.
seen big companies, losing their ground. There was a time when they used to rule, but not now. They have maybe they have simply missed the technology, missed something to stay relevant to the next generation of customers, to get into their mindset, to get into their preference list. They failed. They failed there. Uh, I mean, this applies to graduates, management graduates as well. As you rightly mentioned in the previous question, that MBAs are shifting values. They are now need to adopt to the new emerging technology. There are different opportunities emerging. Now, then, what skills should MBAs build to stay relevant in the next decades? What is your advice to those looking to join the global tech companies?
I honestly have one advice that I've been giving anyone who's trying to speak with me about this topic is AI is the new English. You need, like back in 2000s when we were growing up, uh, if you didn't know English or you were not that great at English, you would lose the international opportunities because that was the norm. That's what's going to happen with AI technology. You need to understand how the technology works. And that's where I think MBAs are really important, right? Because MBAs are people who understand business. So they already have that additional acumen that they bring in that a non-MBA probably wouldn't bring in unless they are from a business background, of course. So what AI has done and what people need to do is build that AI understanding. You do not necessarily need to write code, but you need to understand what the code does. You do not need to know how the LLM in the back or the large language model that's built in the back works, but you need to know how it's built, right? You need to know what's happening in the back so you can have relevant conversations. You need to know how to use these technologies together to be able to bring value to the organization. That's what relevance would mean going forward. Keep evolving ourselves to understanding of how things work and how things come together, and using our traditional education system to bridge the gap between new technology and what we were missing in the past. Things are becoming easier for us. Anyone can code, right? So you mentioning that larger organizations are missing the bus. Probably, probably not. The way I look at it, it was previously only large organizations who could hire really talented engineers who did it in and out. They could do it. That's not the case. The monotony or the monopoly has broken. Where even you and I today, if we put our mind to it, if we understand what we need to build, we understand the business value, we have the right tools, we can build anything in a night and then produce it in the morning, have a working prototype that would basically give you the details and the acumen to do amazing work and make value for yourself in the organization or in the industry.
Thank you so much, Akash. So with that question, we come to the end of the session. Thank you once again for joining us. That was a great learning for all the viewers that who will view the session. I'm sure that we will stay in touch, and we can have you again for any of our future sessions. Thank you so much.
No, absolutely. It was an amazing conversation, and I really appreciate you taking the time and inviting me to the call today. And yeah, I hope people learn AI, and then that's what's going to basically build India from the ground up again.
Sure. Thank you.
Uh,
Thank you, Akash.
Thanks, Abhishek.
So that's a wrap on this episode of Manager's Mantra. Thank you, Akash, for sharing your insights on AI, gaming, and cybersecurity and providing career suggestions for management students. BSmart viewers, we hope you found this conversation helpful. Share your thoughts with us at bsmart.edit@bsmail.in. Follow us on LinkedIn and Instagram for more such insightful and inspiring content. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing.